A rare red YouTube sighting.
everybody. Welcome to tonight's Sublime Text Live. Hang on a second. I just realized I forgot to run a command. There we go. No. Everything is well and good. Hello, everybody. How the hell you doing? Welcome to tonight's live stream. We're going to be working some more on Override Audit tonight. For that one bug fix version that's going to allow us to push out one more legacy build of our package, therefore allowing us to cut over to supporting Sublime Text 4 as the main build, allowing us to add in a bunch of cool new features that we'll be working on for the next little bit. Of course, at the same time, if you have any questions at all about Sublime Text or anything we're doing here, please do feel free to shout those out in the chat. The bot should be announced it at any time, every 5 minutes or so. But feel free to interrupt at any time with any questions that you might have. I know there's been a lot of them hot and heavy related to build systems and Python in the last little while, which is a little bit weird. Hello, Ben. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. It is the start of a brand new week, a week we're calling at work Pause Week, as someone higher up than us has realized that some of the technology that they forced us to use might potentially not be the technology we should be using for a large project at work, allowing us to stop, reassess, and quite potentially throw away everything we've done for the last 4 months so we can start again. That ought to be fun, but what that does mean is that meetings are still as plentiful as they normally are, but they're a lot more interesting because they're actually infrastructure and planning related instead of what is normally going on. And that is the sort of thing that I absolutely love. Coming up with a nice architecture for something before actually building it is something we've been missing a little bit on this project. I'd like to say that we had a great idea for exactly how we were going to architect the stuff we're working on tonight, but realistically, for something like this, I actually just have an idea for what it is that I'd like to actually do. So in all cases, you should do as I recommend or say others do and not necessarily do as I do. I'm working without a net here. Just make sure that everything is copacetic. The lights are green. The bandwidth is clean, so I think that means we're totally clear to press the button and do the coding. I should also point out that I have been thinking about potentially doing channel memberships here on YouTube as sort of an idea, because I love streaming on Twitch and I love the sense of community that is there, but various events that have been happening as of late kind of make it seem like perhaps Twitch is perhaps going a little downhill, and I don't know if they're going to be able to correct that dive. We may find ourselves streaming full time here on YouTube. So what operating system are you using? Hello, is that Jose? I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. Hello and welcome. There's just a chat down below the screen there. This is Linux, specifically Slackware Linux that I'm running here. It's my main operating system. I do have several Windows machines, but when it comes to development, I tend to do all of my development of any kind on Linux. Less so for package development. I have worked on packages for Sublime and plugins for Sublime on Windows, but by and large, most of my Windows computers don't have multiple monitors. But when it comes to actual development, I prefer Linux. It seems to be a better option for me. But as I always like to say, the correct thing is the thing that's right for you, not necessarily the thing that's right for me or one particular person. You got to make sure that whatever you're doing, that it is, shall we say, tuned to you. It's probably the best way to say that. Let's see. So what we are working on is some additions to reports, such that if we hover our mouse over this, it'll tell us what it means. And if we hover our mouse over this, it'll tell us what it means. And if we hover our mouse over this, it'll tell us what it means. And these are visible in a few different places. There's also some of them available here for shipped, installed, and unpacked packages. This is the same sort of designation as we would see here. This represents files that are overrides that are newer in the package, and your override is not as new, so potentially you might be missing some changes. This is what the point of that is. This is a representation of a file that's in an unpacked folder of a packaged package, either shipped or installed, which doesn't appear in that package. It's not an override. Maybe you think it should be, maybe it used to be. So there's a marker there to remind you that that is actually there and could potentially be contributing things that you don't necessarily intend it to be achieving. This is an override report. This is a package report. There's also an expired override report, as we can see down here. And there are also diff reports for per package and a bulk diff that is diffs of overrides in all available packages. They all have the exact same annotations. And what we've been working on in the last stream or two is setting up distinct scopes for these. So this is entity.package.shipped. This is entity.package.unpacked. And this is entity.package.installed, so that we can detect when the mouse is hovering over one of those things, we know that there's something special that we should actually do about it. And similarly, we can hover over the name of a package and get this particular package pop up. And what we also want to be able to do is hover over this and have it display something. Not necessarily this, or maybe actually this is the easiest way to do that, because it has this indication for ships with Sublime in installed packages folder and in packages folder that will track exactly what you see. So default has an S and a U, it's shipped and in packages folder. We might want to add the text unpacked there so that it's more clear what's actually happening, and this is in the installed packages folder. As I said before, if you have any questions about Sublime, please do feel free to drop them down in the chat at any point. You're not interrupting anything. It's part of the reason why I like to live stream this out. If anybody has any questions about Sublime. We are also working towards more series of Sublime Text videos. It's taken a bit of time. Some of the one of those is going to be introduction to Sublime, starting with, okay, so you've installed it. Now what? And running you through the various, situations, what the different parts of the user interface are, how to get multiple panes, what the output panel is, what the sidebar is. Some of that information is stuff that's already available in videos, but my goal for this is to make something as a more comprehensive video playlist. And something that I've really come to appreciate as of late is the video length can be a little bit overwhelming for people that just want a quick answer to something. If you just want to know, how do I do this thing with a color scheme, then you probably want like a 5-minute video or less that says, all right, so here's what you do, boom, 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 you're done. Would you like to know more about how or why this works or other problems? Link in the description. There'll be a whole playlist. Makes it easier for people that want more information to get all the information they want, while at the same time making sure that when people want information, they find it quickly and easily without having to wade through a bunch of stuff. So we're working on that as well. It does take a little bit of time. And as I mentioned, we're also pondering the idea of channel memberships here on YouTube, which would basically just be a way for you to throw 99 cents a month to say, hey, I appreciate what you do here and I would like to support you. By no means is this required or even expected realistically, but we can provide perhaps a couple of perks here, such as the ability to have badges in chat as we start streaming more here on YouTube, emotes that you can use in the live chats and in comments, and that are specific to the channel, and also potentially early access to videos before other people see them. You could see them a little bit in advance. The things that I'm sort of thinking of for right now. Now, for anybody that might be new to what it is that we're doing here, let me just size that down a little bit so we can see a little bit more. One of the thing that we're trying to do here is create the ability to display some text when you hover over something, such as this. And there's a few things that are at play here in making this work. One is an event listener that listens for the hover event that tells us that something is hovered somewhere. And there's a couple of different ways to do that, actually. One is to say that you're hovered over text, which is what we're doing here. Another is if I I actually still have this installed. I'm not entirely sure I do. I push a key. Sorry, it's that one. So I've added a custom fold region here. That's why there's a little fold arrow there. And if I hover over it, I get a pop-up that allows me to fold that away or bring it back. And then if we wanted to, we could also remove that theoretically. Perhaps there's an issue with that. Well, it was something that I whipped up in like 5 minutes, you know, or 15 minutes, sorry. But nevertheless, the idea is that you can detect when the mouse is hovering in a variety of places and take some action. So what we've got already is something that allows us to check that, which is this one, the event listener for override audit events. That's a different event listener for a slightly different thing. But one of the things we have here is, hey, is the mouse hovering over something? If it is, I'd like to know about that information. And there's a few different hover zones that we can actually get. If we do something like that, we could see what you can do for on hover is be told if something is hovering over the text. That's something similar to this. Hovering over this particular text. When the mouse is hovered over the gutter, which is this area over here, we just saw that a second ago, and hovering on the white space on the right of a line, which would be something akin to this. Any of the part of the area of the line that's to the right. It'll tell us exactly where that's happening and what the closest point in the buffer is to the hovered text. Now, if you watch the video on Plugin 101, then you'll know that a point is just an offset into the buffer in characters. So the very first character in the file, that is 0.0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and so on. There's a new line that's also a point. We get to this, it's still a point. It's just a number that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it is exactly as big as how big the file actually is. If the hover zone, pardon me if I size that back down, if the hover zone is hover text, it'll tell you the character that you are hovering the text over, which is how something like this works. It knows that that is hovering over that particular text. If you're hovering over the gutter, it'll give you the point at the start of the line for the area that you're hovering over, assuming there's actually a line there. And if you hover over the margin, you get the point at the end of the line as well. So our hover method is telling us that, and in response to that, we are saying if we're not hovering over the text, we don't care, because this particular hover listener only cares about you hovering over something in the actual buffer. It doesn't care about the area to the right or the area to the left. You're only going to be hovering over specific stuff. And the other part of this is something that we've also talked about in a fair few videos on the channel, is the idea of a scope selector. This is the thing that makes syntax highlighting work. It's the thing that allows syntaxes define them, color schemes use them to provide syntax highlighting. You can make key bindings that only work in certain situations. It's what allows you to associate a build with a certain type of file. It's what allows you to associate a snippet with a certain type of file, or even a certain location in a type of file, like anywhere in Python, only inside of a comment, and things like that. We have added something to the syntax definition for our package here to be able to detect when this is a special piece of text here. That's why it's a different color than everything else. It doesn't do anything when we hover over it, but we can see that its scope is meta.override.expired, letting us know that this particular text represents an override that's expired. And perhaps we could even have fancier color scheme rules that, instead of doing that, actually make this override a different color. But that will be something that we do in a future version of the package. So for right now, we're not being too concerned about that. So right now what we have is, if the character under the point is inside of an override audit file and is the name of a pack, or sorry, if it's not text that is in an override file and the name of a package, we don't want to do anything, which is why that does something, but this currently does not. Now, we have some stuff here. We are grabbing the name of a package out by figuring out that particular, we extract the extract scope method takes a point and gives you a region that specifies exactly how wide that particular scope spans. Then you can use subster to pull that text out, and the result of that is that since this has the scope entity name package, in this particular case it happens to be an enabled package. If we knew what that point actually was, we could ask it to give us the scope for the whole thing, which tells us that. We extract it into a package name. We provide that to this argument, and it shows the package pop-up for us. So if we wanted to, we could also do a similar thing here by saying, you know what, if we're hovering over this little bit of information here, then to the right of it is going to be the name of a package based on the rules of the syntax. What's the name of that package? Let's just call the package pop-up. That's one thing that we could do for that. Let's focus first on these items, and we're going to need to take a note of what these scopes actually are, because I consistently forget. So we're just going to make a little sub window that's behind the chat here and say that this is meta.override.expired for that one. Inside of the other package, pardon me, it's going to be in this bad boy. That is going to be meta.override.unknown, if I did that correctly. If I remember that correctly, rather. Meta.override.unknown. Good. And for the package report, that's going to be entity.package. Now, these are entity and not meta. That's because I wanted to apply a color. That's also something we need to work on here. Entity.package shipped, installed, and unpacked, I'm assuming are the values that we chose for those. That's unpacked. That is installed. That is shipped. And lastly, that is, that doesn't have a scope? Did we not provide a rule for that? Or is it just not in all of the... I thought we added that. Let's see. Let's hide some stuff here. Well, maybe we did it in a different branch. Additional pop-ups, don't care. Refreshing, don't care. We don't care about them here either, pardon me. Did we not? I mean, we must have, because there's action in there that actually does that. Where did we do that, if not here? Well, now I'm just confused about how we actually pulled that off. So let's see. That's a resource. That's a syntax definition. I'm curious as to how I managed to pull that off. That was in June 2019. Oh, is there a stash on that? Are we hiding stashes right now? No. Why do I have a very vivid remembrance of doing that? Did I do it on a different branch? Oh, I probably did that in the wrong place, didn't I? Where would that have been? Not there, I presume. Additional pop. Oh. Right. I guess I haven't pushed that commit yet, right? I should probably pull it over to this branch instead and reset master back the other way. That's why that's not doing anything specific on those. Oh, and we did add a little bit of extra action here too, didn't we? Yeah. All right, let's do this. Oh, I guess I should probably be on that branch, huh? We'll just use the powers of merge to cherry pick that commit into this branch and then go over to master, which is one commit ahead. And well, I think I forgot to put it back into, move us back into the appropriate branch before we started that. I think that's the issue that happened there. We just do something like that and then check that branch out again. And let's move that commit down. So we have, from our stable released version, we've set up packages with a predefined plugin host. We have that been done, and now we're adding in additional pop-ups. So in order to make sure that that fully takes effect, because we fiddled things around, and we might also have changed some code, let's verify that is an enabled package. That is still meta.package.shipped. Okay, that is more like it. That's kind of what I was expecting to see before. I was kind of surprised that that wasn't actually what happened. Let's say this is the sort of stuff that happens when you watch stuff happening live as opposed to edited in a video. So that's meta package unpacked, which is the same as the entity package is what's giving them their purple color in this particular case. But in theory, they have scopes distinct enough that if you wanted to, you could make your color scheme color these any color you like. We should probably also add some syntax definition for that. We could color the box in a fancier way. That is something that we're going to worry about at a later time. And we don't need that file open anymore. Now, that is still meta override expired. Yes, and that other one will still be meta override unknown when we get to it, which is this one. But this is now meta.package.specifier. So expired, unknown, specifier, shipped, installed, unpacked. I think what we want to do is something, we'll just scoot that down there again. Go away. I said go away. Hang on. Thank you. All right, so let's do a little bit of a test here, shall we? Using the power of the console. Let's scroll that up a little bit so we can see that a little bit better. Cursor's right there. View.cell0.b tells us the position of the cursor. View dot, let's see. If we extract scope at view.cell0.b, we get that. And if we view.subster that, We can see that one is S, and that one is I, and that one is U. So that's what we want. And in this case, that's an X, and in this one, oops, that is a question mark, and in here, it's that. So the scopes are covering all of that, and this shows you exactly how this is doing its thing. We get told the point, which is the say where the mouse is hovering. It tells us what the point in the buffer closest to that is. We extract scope to get a region such as that. We can substrate that text out to actually see the actual text and then do something with it. So right now, what we're doing is that. Let's say that. All right. So if we hover, it tells us it's showing the pop-up. So we know that we want it to be something that happens in text override audit and entity name package. There's a few different things here that we might want it to be. Meta.override or meta.package. And that would tell us some stuff. So let's see. I think we would do something like yaw. Meta.package. Leave if we're not doing it. If we are, do this. And then and then we can throw a little bit of this in there. And if we did it right, that'll tell us why it's showing the pop-up, allowing us to verify that we did it correctly. So that's not doing anything. That's default. That's that. That's the X. There's that. And in the package report, since all of those things are slightly different, that is boom, boom, and boom. Right on. So you can see the power of scopes in Sublime Text. It's not just for doing color scheme related things, but when it comes to doing stuff in a plugin, you can take advantage of this as well. And I think this is covered in the 5 video series on, I can't remember what that thing is called. Tag list, note list, tag to top. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there's a 5 video series on the channel. There's a playlist for it. And in that we say something along the lines of, what if we wanted to do something to know that the cursor is on this? Clearly it's telling us the point. One of the things we could do in one of these situations, right, is say, if we know that there's a point, like this is the place where the cursor actually is, like that. It's inside of that empty bracket on line 13 there. Then we could say view.line and give it that point, and it'll give us a region that spans the whole entire line, right? I know you didn't at the way back when, but that's part of the reason why I want to do another video on that. At the time, there wasn't, it was sort of like a mysterious thing, as I recall, but the documentation has gotten a lot better since then. If we wanted to, we could do something like this and pull this out. We could also extrapolate, knowing that since this is 360 and that's 308, that is 52 characters in. So That gives us the character that this is actually on. You could grab a little bit of text left and right. You could try to do something like use a regular expression to pluck out the area of text around the cursor. Like say, starting here, find everything to the left until you find a left square bracket and the right until you find a right square bracket, which would work. But the syntax is already doing a bunch of work to do that for us. So, and it's giving it a specific scope to allow us to figure that out. So why not piggyback on that hard work that's already been done? Benefits to that also include if you're doing something that is language related, this is a comment, and no, there's no other comments in this file, but there's other types of comments in Python. There's other types of comments in other types of programming languages. If you just said, find me a comment, or give me the scope of the comment, it doesn't matter what language you're in, your plugin will just work for everything. Even languages that haven't been invented yet, if somebody creates the appropriate metadata, right? We wouldn't want to say, do something here where we say, look to the left and the right until we find open and closing square brackets. That's going to be the text we're hovering on, because perhaps we might want to change that. And if we change it in the syntax, then you got to remember to change it someplace else. And one of the things I'd like to say in any of my streams is if you ever have the same thing that appears in more than one place and it's referenced by the same sort of thing, you're probably going to have to change that at some point, and you're not going to remember all of the places where it is, and it's more of a pain in the butt. So from me to you, anytime that you can make your maintenance work and your future updates easier, why not, right? Seems like a good plan. So that'll allow us to easily detect what we're on here. We could probably also make that even smarter to some level. You know, like, we just sort of spitballing this stuff here. Oh boy. Right? Not sure if that actually did anything. There we go. So now that's hovered on a package, hovered not on a package, hovered not on a package. Not going to find that one, huh? Wait, that doesn't have a scope now? Did we not? Oh, I guess that one doesn't matter because it's just empty. Right. My bad. So we can detect that and that and that. One of the ways to pull this off, anyway, we only want it to even continue forward if we know we're in one of these sorts of situations. And then specifically, if we're hovered on a package, do this. Otherwise, do something slightly different. Does it make sense to do that with multiple match selectors? I don't see why not. It's awful fast that way. Right? For our purposes here, we could just throw one of those. Hello, Ashwin. How are you doing this fine morning? Showing the pop-up on default and showing the pop-up not on a package though. So we got that part nailed in. Now there's two different things we have here. We have meta override and meta package. So one thing that we could do, I think we're going to need to know the scope name of the thing, right? What's the magic of that? That's going to give us a bunch that we don't necessarily want, though, right? I'm doing not too shabby. As I was mentioning earlier, work is actually kind of in a weird... The project manager is referring to it as a pause because we've reached the end of one of our milestones and we've been told that some of the underlying technology that we're building on, which is something that comes from one of the other teams in a different part of the company, is likely going to be replaced with something else. So we're pausing everything we're doing right now to go investigate Apache Spark to see if it's something that we can use to make things faster. We're apparently the trailblazers for stuff on the team. So what this means is we're having the same number of meetings, but it's about more interesting technical subjects, like actually discussing what it is we need out of technology and how best to accomplish it and the like, which really quite boss. I was going to say something else there too. Oh, the business people, now that we've been working on this project, this migration project for a year, and have been telling them, you should be telling us all the things that you don't like about the current system because we're rewriting it from the ground up. It's like a whole new product. We could fix all those problems for you and make your life better. And they've been sort of trying to fall back into old patterns. But somebody at the head of the client services woke up last week and said, hey, you know what? This is a pretty big project. This is less like a migration and more like a whole new product. I bet you we could probably just, you know, fix a bunch of problems that we have and make life better because we're rewriting everything anyway. And the other people said, hey, that's fantastic. And I said, yeah, I mean, pretty sure we said that. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? You know, when the meeting is about bizarre technical things or why certain things aren't happening, that's less interesting. But getting into the nitty gritty of technical, you know, we are going to have 50 files a day. Some of those files are going to have 50 million records in them. We need to process that as quickly as possible. What format do we need the data in? How are we going to store it in the database? How are we going to pull it out? How are we going to get the throughput that we actually need for any of this stuff? I mean, that's the sort of stuff that's like interesting. And then building it is interesting. Talking at length about the stuff you want to be building but can't because you're in a meeting talking about, that part's less interesting. Hey, Girish. Yeah, it turns out that this just happened to be the shirt on the top of the pile. So, you know. Hello, Girish. What tech stack is used to build Sublime? Sublime Text is built with C++. And a lot of hard work. If that's what you mean by tech stack. You know, I'm kind of surprised, Ashwin. People usually comment on shirts I wear in meetings, and nobody said anything about this one. Hey, hey! Hello, G-Bound. How you doing? I recognize that name. ODAT Sublime. What? We are here. We're in. Working on some package-related stuff. I'm trying to decide... what's the best way to take my scope that we have and figure out what text we want to use for the hover? But that's a good question. I'm not one of the developers of it specifically, but I know that they use Boost as one of the libraries for regular expression stuff. I know they use... it's some pretty high-powered stuff. Dang, what's the name of the UI toolkit? There actually isn't one. It's like a custom thing, but I can't remember the name of the library they use for compositing. And even then, I think that's only for software. There's a JSON parser, I believe. That might even be Skia. There you go. Yeah, I couldn't think of the name. Indeed. Now, I am, by definition, a grumpy old man. But I will say that anything that you could write in one language, you could probably write in another language. But there's trade-offs between different situations. All else being equal, we're glossing over a little bit of stuff. One of the things you gain from using a language like Python or TypeScript or JavaScript and the Node environment is your time to create something that does something is a lot less, but the performance level you get is a lot less too. Where on the flip side, languages like C++ are very low level. It takes you a little more time to actually come up with something that does something, but when it does that something, it does it a lot more fast than you could otherwise. So there's definite trade-offs there. Keep practicing those data structures and you will get there. I've never personally seen the source code for Sublime Text, but I hear that I think Ben said that it's mostly C-ish. It's not a lot of the kind of stuff you tend to think of when you think of C++, like a lot of templates and operator overloading and all that sort of stuff. At least I think that's what he said. Keep in mind, it's also the product of several people in quite some time. We've come a long way from the very first versions that originally came out. Well, we know that they use Boost for their regular expression stuff, like for finding files and the like. And I don't know if the sregex is something that they built in-house. I don't know if there's a library for Agunaruma. I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. Well, for that, you'd have to talk to Sublime HQ, I would imagine. I don't know if they have interns. It does seem like a dream job, though, doesn't it? We could use that. We could use that. I don't want to base it on the text, generally speaking. I want to do it based on the scope. So let's think this through. If it's not one of those, we definitely don't want it. If it's entity name package, we definitely know it's a package. We could say if it matches meta override, we know it's either expired or unknown. Ooh.
Congratulations.
What did you think? Have I done anything like this previously? I'm not entirely sure that I have. Remember, you got the inside track if you got any questions about how to set it up or how to squeeze the most out of it and the like, or if it has a feature. I may be able to help with that as well. That's only going to do for that. Hey Ashwin, am I missing something really obvious as an easy way to figure out a partial scope for something that's hovered over? Because I'm trying to think if I've ever done anything like that previously, and I don't think I have. Like, we made a hover pop-up for that. And for dead links. Like that. but it uses external information to know if that's the case or not. So that doesn't seem entirely useful. What do you normally use, G-Ben? Do you normally use Visual Studio Code or something from the JetBrains stable? At some level, when it comes down to the actual editing stuff, I think they're all on a fairly even keel as far as editing functionality is concerned. One may be faster than the other, but I think they can all do the same sort of thing, like finding all of the instances of the same word or similar, or, you know, multiple cursors, multiple copy paste. That cool situation that I've been using more and more lately, where you can flip the things that are selected, or if you just own a cursor, the characters, if you want to turn something backwards. No. People at work swear by VS Code. I've found that using LSPA TypeScript with Sublime gets me the same functionality that they have, but with a more pleasing editor environment. To me, because I'm used to using this one more than anything else. That's happening via distinct links. So maybe I'm overthinking this. Yeah, that's extracting it from there. That's in the... That's the only one of those, isn't it? Oh, actually. That might be the magic that we need here. Since 3172, it's undocumented, but that's still Sublime Text 3. Let's take a look. Wait, you're not a fan of the Java stuff? 3092 to 3196 is the legacy version. Anything we do now requires at least build 3197 or higher. That's 3186. If it's introduced in 3186, it's definitely in the other stuff. Sorry, 3172. That's even farther back. That's definitely in there. That would be very handy. I do that kind of here by having a list of all of the regions that are in the buffer and testing them to see if it's inside of one of them, which seems to work fairly well, but it would be a lot cooler, I would think, you know, certainly a lot handier in that particular case. We're going to say we want something like that. So let's give this a jingle, right? If that is giving us the scope name for the whole thing, we need the one with extract scope in it, like so. That'll give us the span of text under the cursor. And if we were to pass view.extract tokens with scopes, if we were to spell it correctly, region 353 to 354, 354 to 3. Why is that split up? That is not what I would have expected. All right, that is, well, it's doubly not going to do what we want because it's using the whole entire scope. We could already get the text that we want, so that's a no-go. Yeah. We're going to be doing more Java at work, perhaps. Or actually, perhaps more Python at work. Or maybe more Scala at work. The technology that we're looking into is Apache Spark, which is written in Scala. So you could use Scala, you could use R, you could use Python. You could use Java, I think, since it's a JVM-based thing. That's the idea that they have anyway. The technical description of what it is they think that it's going to do for them isn't necessarily the greatest in the world. I think it's one of those situations where someone's not necessarily paying full attention to how this stuff might actually work. Like I think I mentioned, we are the trailblazers on this. We're the first people that are going to be potentially using this technology. It seems to be tightly coupled with AWS, which is weird because we're trying to build our own cloud. So I don't know why we would use something that uses someone else's cloud infrastructure, but perhaps they haven't fully grokked onto that one, or perhaps it's not actually that important. Who can say? It definitely helps. It definitely helps. You don't have to be, and this is the sort of fun situation. The person who is our personal project lead / tech manager is someone that has done code related stuff. He's actually kind of like me. He loves getting into the nitty gritty of design and architecture of things. So he knows better than anybody else that higher up on the chain than him, I should say, that some of the things that they're saying just make no sense, you know? Like, you think that based on some work that we have done, it's going to be a simple 3-week affair to learn how to use Spark and then just port everything over? I don't think you're understanding the full scope of what's happening there. If you had a little bit of experience with that, but I think the issue, such as it is that most of the people higher up, because we're in a finance company, they're more finance related than technology related. So they kind of know what they want out of it, but they don't necessarily know how to get there. And they really seem to drink the marketing Kool-Aid for stuff. Like, we were specifically told, you know, can't we just we have a version of the thing that we want to do already written right now in Objective-C. It's 3 orders of magnitude faster than the fastest part of the system that anybody has come up with so far. And we haven't even optimized it yet. That's just how it kind of worked out. We could actually make it even faster. And the response that came back was, if I was to go into a sales meeting and tell somebody that the software is written in Objective-C, they wouldn't want to purchase it. They want those buzzwords of Node.js and mean stack and Angular and all of that stuff. And our policy was, you know, you can always just take any technology and bolt it onto a project somewhere. So if you want to say, yeah, we're totally using the mean stack, we could be using that to display a, you know, status web page to somebody, even though that's not what the system is made in. What they're going to care about is what it can actually do, not what it's built into, right? One would assume anyway, since they're buying it for the purposes of us running it for them in the cloud and not building on it themselves. They'd never even know. Hey, Dev. I am doing good. How are you doing? I'm trying to think if there's a cooler way to do what it is we're doing here without a whole bunch of match selectors or just grabbing the text out. Maybe we just grab the text out and call it a day, even though I just said 15 or 20 minutes ago, not necessarily the greatest way to go. Nah, wouldn't have to do anything else there. We could just return there, and we could return there, and then this part's just the top level. We could say must be a package spec or one of the other single character. Then we could say maybe we might have to do that one twice, as a matter of fact. 50 degrees Celsius. Post shower ain't gonna different. Yikes. That is warm. It's funny that you mentioned that, because the Pooch, who seems to be doing a lot better now, has been having a little bit of a problem with his left front, sorry, his right front shoulder. I'm used to seeing him looking at me. It's on that side, but no, it's his right front shoulder's been a little stiff, and it's not very warm here right now, but he was still panting quite a bit. So we suspect that he's actually feeling a little bit of discomfort, not enough to really make him unhappy, but enough to sort of throw him off his game. He's not being as playful. He's still got a good appetite. We gave him some medication, and while I was doing that, I looked at it and noted that it said, keep this at 25 degrees Celsius or cooler. And the first thing I thought of was how the temperature got to 40 last summer. So maybe we should be keeping this in the fridge in case something untoward happens to it. Hopefully that happened after summer. Otherwise, maybe that stuff's already bad. I don't think so, though. I think that part came later. All right. The text that we hovered over. We got the report type. We have the package name. We have the hover text. We don't need the package name. That should still do what it always did, if that reloaded. And it did. That part still works, so that's nice. Those would be hovering over a package specifier. Nope. That would be these ones. Actually, maybe we don't even care about that. That's not something we actually need. Viewpoint hover text. It's probably what we want here. In the initial days of summer, this time it did mess my vision. Went a little blurry. The worst part, my 24 to 25 years of education will probably be of no use to me if I lose my vision. And ooh, yeah. Keep yourself safe, sir. That goes for everybody. And when are you guys keeping yourselves as safe and healthy and happy as possible? And having fun writing code. Or having fun watching people write code. Either way. Package pop-up is going to be in package pop-up.py, right? That's that one. Maybe we actually just put it in here, huh? Oops. Show. I already forgot what it was that we said. Info pop-up for a view and a point and a hover text. Oh, whoops. All right, so let's try to remember. We're definitely going to want that. Render pop-up. What do you do, my fine friend? Getting the package information from the given view and detailing the output as appropriate. Oh, we might need some extra refactory type stuff here. Oh, actually, we could really do some action here. Because if the link name starts with help, it's going to do something else. Whoa! Hey, thank you, kind sir. I'm not sure what that particular symbol is. Is that the symbol for rupees? In any case, very kind. Thank you very much. It would be cool to get syntax highlighting in your diff. Ah, I agree. Well, I mean, other than the diff syntax highlighting, which should work. But I assume you mean like knowing that this is Python. I'm not entirely sure how well that part might actually work. Right, sorry, I forgot. It's just a habit. I mean, I call my coworker Mr. Ball because his last name is Ball. He calls me Mr. T because I pity the fool, and we refer to everybody else as Sir. But I know you don't like that, so my apologies. You kind of threw me by giving a generous donation. I think that might. No, I don't think that's that might be the second time that anyone's ever done that in any of the live streams here. Very much appreciated in any regard. And I apologize for using the S word. Those are help links. I'm just pondering here how we can shimmy this in, because we could actually, I think, convert hover text to a link name. In fact, yeah. Well, I mean, we don't actually need to do that here. We could actually do it here. That argument's not going to matter for certain cases. I would imagine the is detailed when it comes to render pop-up. If it starts with package, it's used. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. So actually, we could really... at some point, yes. I would imagine we have. For the ultimate level of nerdery, and you have to be like an ultra old school TV nerd for this, but my coworker set up, Mr. Ball, set up his own private Mattermost server because we were using it at work, and we switched to Teams, and we both hate Teams, and we much prefer Mattermost. If you're unfamiliar with Mattermost, it's basically professional Discord, not gaming related Discord, if you will. Something that you could run yourself instead of just having a server. When he was installing it, he said, it asked him what's your team name? So he entered the A team because he needed a team name, which is funny to me because he refers to me as Mr. T. So when I set up my account, I named myself Mr. T. And when I set up the name of the server, I named it GMC Vandura. You really got to be a super nerd to know how that associates with the A team. No, what Mattermost is? No, I think I would think more. Also, hello, Axel. I would think more teams is my classes are awful rant. If we want to be very specific about it, maybe it's because I've spent several years on Discord, and before that, 25 years on IRC. But one thing that I never thought, for all the time that I have been using Discord, it never occurred to me, you know what would be cool about this conversation with someone if it looked like a mobile texting SMS message flow with the left and the right and the weird bubbles. That just never occurred to me. I like the I said something, you said something, I said something, you said something. I can tell my name when I read it. It's even got my picture next to it. I don't need it to go left and right to let me know which is which, you know? Here's a good argument for Teams. It's better than Link and it's better than Skype. But that's about it. It actually, I'll say this. Teams wouldn't be bad for team communications if communications channels for your actual team worked the same way they do if you do direct messages, right? Because in the direct message, I direct message Axel. I say hi. He says hello. I say how you doing. He says I hate classes. I say I hear ya. He says I'm making a cool thing that is we're going to replace stream elements. I say I'm damn jealous, you talented bastard, you. And we can see that whole conversation in the little left-right bubble. But if we were in a team, I would send a message that says hi, and then he would reply to it with hello, but he'd have to click a specific link to reply to that particular bubble of conversation. Otherwise, he's starting a new conversation. And then you can't see the entire conversation because it's always folded up unless you click on it. Or you just keep opening a bunch of distinct conversations. And it just does not seem to flow correctly. It seems weird and awkward. Also, it doesn't seem to just send off notifications nearly frequently enough for Teams things, so it's got that going for it too. My dog stepped on a bee. Oh, that would be bad. My dog tried to eat a bee once. His face got a little bit puffy. He kept poking it, and I said, I don't think you want to poke that bee. But he poked that bee, and then he was unhappy about what happened when that bee got poked. I'm going to do that because I like the way that looks a little bit better. And we're also going to say let's do that. And then this part would be is detailed, right? Link would be equal to this. And then this becomes a link. Then we don't have to do that. And we come over to here. And we don't need to do any of that stuff that we just did. We just throw that away as if that was never there. And we come back to here. And we swap up how this does something. So we change this to be as detailed. No, I have... My wife has been watching some videos about the trial, and I've seen some stuff from Legal Eagle. You know, like they all tend to say a lot of things like, you know what the first thing they teach you in lawyer school is? Never ask a witness a question unless you know what the answer is going to be. Because you kind of put yourself in an unfortunate situation if you they give an answer you didn't expect. But as far as memes, I have not seen too many of those. I'm not entirely sure why. I might not have the right, I might not be in the right distribution criteria for those things on Facebook or something. That's going to be a what? Oh no. I may have. No, if we don't provide a link, it doesn't matter. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. I was just thinking. You can try. I don't think it's gonna let you, which is out of my control. No matter what I do, I cannot get it to allow a link. However, if you're in my Discord, you can message it, you can say it there or DM me, and I will open the link here because I am link friendly. YouTube, however, is not. They're keeping me safe. You're keeping me safe, I tell you. If you try to share a link, it'll probably just eat it. I'm guessing there's at least 3 places where. Oh, actually, we don't want to do that. We want to say. Shipped, installed, unpacked. Like that. And then we can say link equals. Is help one of the kinds of links we currently have? When we call render pop-up here. If it starts with help. Why package? Oh, because it's got the name of a package, I presume. Oh, hey. Boss. They finally fixed something. Oh, if it's a YouTube video, I don't know I want to watch it while I'm on here because I don't want to get in trouble for boosting content. But I will definitely watch that. Here, let me... It knew that was a link, but it allowed it. I wonder if that's because it's a YouTube link. Try to share a link to something that's not YouTube. I want to see what happens. It's TikTok? The first hit is a YouTube thing, though. Cougar board, cougar board, cougar board. I can totally see the thumbnail from my dog stepped on a bee now. Oh. I wonder if that's strictly necessary. I'm gonna guess probably not. If it starts with help, the link name is going to be the text after that. It's going to split on topic and package. It's going to get the help link for that topic. And it'll format it based on the package name, which is not anything we're going to have here. Whoops. Hang on. My Discord's in the way. did that other... Hey. I think they finally might have fixed something. I mean, question the third. Are you posting that with the HTTP or the HTTPS on the front? Or is... Because it seems like it would work. It looks like it put spaces in there. Or it's recognizing it kind of as a link. There's like a space in there to... It still knows it's a link. When you do it, it pops up a thing that says link held for review. That's interesting. Try to post it without doing that. Does it let you do that? I'd like to see that. Because maybe it's finally accepting the setting that I gave it a year and a half ago. All right, you want that to be quoted, do you? That's just going to be one item, huh? That means that's going to cause us a problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I thought. Hello, Ayush. Yeah, if you can see it up there, but that's interesting because it was totally asking me to verify. Now, I have found at least 2 places in the settings where I said, yes, links, allow them. Wait, it shows up in the preview, but not in the actual chat? Yeah, like when it happened up there, I don't think it may or may not have shown the thing, but you know, it's weird. How you doing, Dev? Or sorry, Ayush. Dev is who I'm talking to here. All right, if we want that to do something, we need to add an extra item to the end. Oh, it's not the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, actually, maybe not. Hang on, let's think about this again. We could do it a different way. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make that the as mod hover text like that. We're going to fire that down through there. And it's going to get all cranky up in this area. It's not going to actually display any hover text, but we could say if link name starts with info. Oops. Then it'll still return nothing, but I think... Yeah. It's a weird situation. Like, we discovered that YouTube is trying to be more like Twitch as a streaming place, and you know they're trying to do the same stuff that Twitch does, but they're trying to do it like better. They're more focused on, say, the security of people. So they have raids. But in order to raid someone, that person has to first pre-allow you to raid. So there's no such thing as finding somebody else that streams what you stream that happens to be live and popping in and raiding and saying, hey, I would like to show my community to you. You would have to talk to them ahead of time and say, hey, is it okay if I raid you? And then maybe they need to see content that you did to make sure that you're safe and such. I can see why you would do that. it's supposed to also work for, you could say, allow anybody that subscribes to me to raid, but then you have to make your subscriptions public, and maybe you don't want to do that. I don't like to do that. It just clutters up the channel page. So, I could see this sort of thing. They have now, they're baiting gifting channel memberships. Channel memberships are YouTube's version of Twitch subs, right? Because here they're called subscribers, on Twitch they're called followers, there they're called subscriptions, here they're called memberships. It works kind of like a cross between, it works more like Patreon. You can set up to 5 levels. You set the price of those levels, and you set the perks for those levels. The lowest rated one allows for badges and emotes, and you unlock more by having more members. Then the other ones can be anything you want. You could say like a 99-cent, a $5, a $10, $20, $25, something like that. In order to gift a membership, you yourself have to be a member first, and you can only gift in groups of 5, 10, or 20. You can't just, gift a couple. You have to gift 5. You can't gift to a specific person. It's always random. And you have to be a member first. I think I said that already. But also, everybody in the chat needs to say, yes, I would like to accept one, which makes it incredibly hard, I would think. Like, as Alpha Gaming, Harris Heller was saying, I could see why you probably don't gift a sub to somebody if you're not already a sub yourself, but I don't see any reason why I would block anybody from doing that. And one of the fun things about Twitch gift subbing is you see someone in the chat and they're cool, and you click the thing next to their name and gift them a sub and say, hey, you're welcome, and enjoy that thing. And now you can't do that unless you arrange for everybody else to not follow you anymore or something. Now, it sounds unnecessarily complicated. What's the benefit in, I want to spend $5, I want to spend $25 is the minimum that you could spend to give 5 people memberships. What's the benefit to you in saying, no, I'm watching your content, but I don't want a temporary boon that puts a flag next to me in your chat? It makes no sense, right? So maybe those sorts of things will sort of change over time. It's hard to say. They're going in the right direction, though. And the other thing to point out there is the revenue split is 70-30 instead of 50-50, so it's automatically better for you anyway. Quadruply so if you imagine that you can only do it in groups of 5. Probably makes it, there's probably some people that would gift subs, but they can't gift 5, but they could gift 1 or 2 or 3 that are going to be locked out from being able to do that. So I guess, does that balance out? Beats me. I guess we need a console here. That's an info hover. That's an info hover. I think that part's working. That's the same thing. We don't care about that. Yep. And yep. And yep. That's not an info hover. All right, so I think it's very similar to that, right? This would just be topic is equal to link name, boop, boop, and that would be an info, although it would still work anyway. Harris Heller thinks that Twitch might only have as much as 3 years left before they eventually go defunct. The idea there is that they haven't really done anything extraordinary lately as far as things go, but they are doing stuff to he said, and I don't, this is all like hearsay because it's stuff that he said, I certainly don't follow this stuff, that Amazon bought Twitch, but it hasn't really been actually profitable for them for ever. And I think his theory was that it's kind of bugging them. That thing that was coming out where they said that maybe they were going to change the revenue split for partners to be 50-50 instead of 70-30. for higher tier subs, and it's a consolation prize. They remove exclusivity so that you can't just only stream on Twitch. Was their attempt to try to get a little bit of extra money out of it as it's kind of dying, but yeah. So it remains to be seen. Definitely, I want to keep streaming on Twitch for as long as is viable, but I also kind of want to move over to YouTube a little bit too, because I have a community here. It's more Sublime Text related, but it, it's not really like a writing is on the wall kind of thing. I do like streaming here. The audience is a little bit smaller. The sense of community isn't quite there the same way that it is on Twitch. Most of the people that are talking in my chat right now are people that I know from Twitch, not necessarily people that follow me on YouTube. So, there's that. I mean, that could change over time. But, it's a funky, weird situation. We do something like that. We don't need to format this. We just need to do that. And now we're mostly there. You've streamed on YouTube? Well, I've always set up the stream key myself, so as far as going between Twitch and YouTube, it was the same for me either way. One thing that sort of is annoying about streaming on YouTube that I have to deal with, and maybe there's a better way around this that I just haven't found yet, but I don't think so. I haven't looked in a while, is that the URL for the chat is different for every stream. At least now. It didn't used to be. But I think I just did the way I was streaming before on my alternate channel was a little bit different than how I'm doing it now. Now they all have different titles and stuff. But and maybe because I have more than one of them, and not just keep reusing the same stream. Oh yeah, because I wanted to be able to schedule the thing. So every time I stream, one of the things I have to do is pop out chat, get the link, go into the thing, and change the browser source for it, which is a bit of a bummer. YouTube's API, it's not too terrible. I haven't had anything bot related with it, and I don't think it like. One of the other things that's missing is channel point stuff, right? Rewarding people for watching you without providing money by giving them the ability to add more interactivity. Yeah. I also find it weird, and I've mentioned this before, how sort of weird it is that YouTube will say something like, hey, we totally added the ability that you've been asking for a long time. So when you make a community post, you can use images in the options instead of just text. So do you have 3 different types of thumbnails that you want to ask people what they think is better? Now you can do that. And then it goes in to say, by the way, if you want to do this, you have to be on Android. Anybody on any platform can see the poll and respond to it, but you can only create the poll on Android. I'm like, in what situation is it easier to create an Android application that allows you to select an image than a web page? The browser kind of allows you to select images directly. If anything, I would expect it to be on desktop first and then on mobile second, because I think they have native applications and they don't do like the web wrapper thing. But that sort of thing is like, I don't understand why they decided to do that way. That's weird. Okay. Now, we say this is going to be looking it up in help, right? We're going to name it info. Oh, I guess we need a separate thing for this. Yeah. Hang on. Pardon me. There we go. Okay, so we turn that off. That bumps that out a little bit. We size this down, and then something like yeah. That would be underscore info. This would be that. I have long been on record as saying that when it comes to using a mobile device, I want to use Android because iOS just seems clunky and awful in a lot of different ways. But when it comes to creating an application, I want to be using the language and tools and framework that Apple came up with. Because I found that a lot more of a pleasurable situation. It has been a long time. It's probably been at least 2013. It's been damn near a decade since I've done anything iOS or Android related. For deployment, yes. But for actual development, having to run some sort of super awful Android emulator and that takes forever to start up every time you want to do something was a gigantic pain. It almost seemed like Google was doing that on purpose to try to get you to buy a device and plug it in, whereas the emulator for iOS is snappy and a native application. But yeah, when it comes to actually getting it onto a device, Draconian comes to mind. To say the least. But yeah, the whole, and it's been a while. Like now, I think, maybe with the advent of Chrome OS, maybe there's actual Android devices out there that are run on Intel, which means you could actually get an Intel emulator. Shipped. Okay, and that's an I, and that is a U. So that's donk. Okay. This is not an override. Is it supposed to be? This package ships with Sublime Text. This package is a package that is installed in the installed packages folder, and this package exists as a folder in the packages folder. We reload, see what happens. Now, some sort of like ARM is pretty popular. And I guess that's like sort of one of those neat things, right? Because iOS devices don't run Intel either, but since you're coding them in C, or at least I was, it's probably entirely different with Swift. I had nothing to do with that. I was tapped for that project because I already knew Objective-C and I was a C developer. But you can compile, because you have that basically they had a native version of the entire API local. You write your code, you link it, you can run it in the emulator, which is less an emulator per se, because it's more emulating the environment than the device, if you will. you get to see exactly what it's probably going to do, and then when you deploy it to the device, it compiles it for the actual processor that it's supposed to be for and links it against the appropriate libraries. So it's a lot more seamless in that regard, except for all of the BS nonsense that's involved in actually getting the application onto the hardware device in the first place. Not a super fan of that. This package is a package that's installed in the installed packages folder. All right, that's working. And this override is expired. And yeah. Pine phone. Ben has a Pine phone. I think if you follow him on Twitch rather. Well, he's only streamed a couple of times. He may be listening right now. He may not be. But one of the things he was working on was, I think, an update to the camera application so that it would work better on the Pine phone. Bonk. Fun little, kind of made me pine for one of those. Hang on a second. I think I have a button for that.
And you fail.
Yep, that's the one. That's the sound drop you use for that operation. All right, so all we got to do now is actually come up with how we want this to actually look, and we're more or less there. So how do we do this other help here? I guess we need a title on these things, huh? Because we could totally have a title there to say what the thing is actually going to be. And the help doesn't necessarily need to go back. So maybe that is actually what we want here. Here, let's do something like this. Realistically, we want something like that, right? So if we did that, and then grab that, and then do that, and then get rid of that, save it, reload it, and this tells you stuff. Yeah, see, so we're getting the nice thing there. So we just need a title on this. So we would have a title in there, in the place where this is actually used. Ironically, now it's almost identical to help. Those are all returns, right? They are. All right, I guess the sneeze isn't going to happen. It felt like it was going to happen, but it's not going to happen. So, what we could say is, do we actually want to do that? The problem with what I'm thinking of doing here is that it requires us to actually know what the text is to know what sort of hover it should be. How useful is that? Basically, what I'm thinking is where it says package, it could say package type, and then that will tell you the thing. The same as it would if you did it here. It would say package type here, as well. And then for this, the header would say override. I guess we don't necessarily need to convey it this way so much as we could actually pull it out of the help because we have our own special object here, right? So we could put that back to the way that it was. If we change this, we could change the specification for how this actually looks to be a little bit different than that. So it would be an object. Tying the title to the actual content makes more sense than trying to figure out that the other way, right? Actually, we're probably overthinking that a little much. Because we could just put it in there. This would be that. This is a shorthand specifier. Provides a shorthand for letting you know the different states in which this package might exist. A package can appear, a package will always appear in at least one of these. One of these types, but it could be two or even all three of them. Keep thinking that it's going to know that. In the buffer, how? Like we put it at the top of this thing so that it's just always there all the time, even for people that already know what it is. There's already a precedent for getting information on things by hovering over them, which is the reason why that makes more sense to me. I also think these should have hover pop-ups as well, realistically, but I'm not entirely sure what should go in them other than to describe that it's expired. So maybe you don't even necessarily need to have that. In the ultimate world, it would be a lot cooler. Pop-ups are immediately discoverable. Doesn't that make it better? To play devil's advocate on that, this is a legend that tells you what this is, and I've lost count of the number of people that have asked me what these mean. So either this is entirely unreadable as a legend, or people don't pay as much attention to that as they pay attention to the stuff that's inside. For what that's worth. Which seemed like a weird disconnect to me, because that's specifically why they're outlined exactly the way that you see them everywhere else. These could really all use the exact same help, realistically. Well, I'm not saying I agree with you because that, you know, I'm just saying. I have had requests to have more ways to see what's actually happening in there. So that is what we're kind of trying to pull off here. The ultimate goal for me personally, I mean, I want to have that more syntax highlighted. There's a lot of stuff that I actually want to work on here. I would rather mark this up in a way where, because that has an X in front of it, this part is a different color as well. It's still marked up that way, and then you could hover over it to say, get more information about this. Like, this file is from, well, this is a bad way to do it because it's already got this date information here. But imagine if you did it here. You could hover over this and it could say this override is expired. The base version, the base package version is this date, and your file was last updated on this date. And similar thing for that. So we're also sort of setting the stage for that functionality at some point, but I'm not quite ready to hit that point here because I do want to enhance the syntax definitions quite a bit as well. I tried to make it as informative as possible while actually being something you actually want to look at. So, you know, there's that. But, yeah. I mean, all else being equal, it might be wasted effort if no one ever actually hovers their mouse over it, because if you didn't know you could do that, then you'd never know that it's even there. In which case, the information that's there is already kind of discoverable, except for knowing what those are. But... yeah, I don't know. We could add a little legend in there. Maybe we can do that too, so that there's the hover pop-ups that provide more detailed information and just a little blurb that says what that is. Packages are prefixed with something that tells you if they're shipped, installed, or unpacked in the packages folder. Oh, I guess I should probably do that. Gotta stop doing that. Oh, we're getting really close to our time here. This is all, of course, still work in progress and the like. But I totally feel you on people that try to complicate what is normally simple. Like, I only caught a little bit of the conversation that happened in the Discord earlier, where it looked to me like someone was saying Sublime HQ should find all of the really popular packages that haven't been updated in a while and then just add them directly into the core of Sublime so everybody has them all the time. You know, like, I don't know if I read that right. I'm going to assume I did not read that correctly, but the whole point of Sublime for me is that it's small and fast and extendable with what you need. Why would you want to pack the kitchen sink into it? If I wanted a super bloated editor, I'd use Eclipse or something. So, you know, let me say, to each his own. I don't understand why it's a complication to take a one-time step to install a package that you want to use. I don't understand why the guy in the Discord yesterday wanted to manually add every snippet in Sublime to the command palette because he wanted it to start with different text than snippet, which is already in there. If it wasn't, I've kind of thought that in the back of my head a couple of times, Ashwin. You know, when someone says like, I would really wish that it did blah, and I'm like, I don't really want it to do that. I don't need it to do that. If it does that, I hope it's something that I could configure and turn off. The first thing that comes immediately to mind is that big welcome panel. You know, like JetBrains has it. I might not. I may be thinking of something else. But like VS Code and Visual Studio, you fire it up and it's got the big, hey, remember I'm a text editor. Here's the last things that you edited in case you forgot. You want to go back to them. Would you like to read some blog posts? Here are some packages you might like to install. And someone was saying like Sublime should have a thing like that. And there were some good arguments for why you might want to have something like that. But do I get any benefit whatsoever out of that? No. Whenever I install any program that has a would you like to see this giant annoying dialogue or panel every time you start, I immediately click the little box that says no, never show this to me ever again. Thank you very much. If Sublime had one of those and it had that little tick box, then I would tick it off once and all would be good. If for some weird reason they decided it just always had to be there, that could well be something that would make me not want to use it anymore because it's just something that's getting in the way. One of the things I like about Sublime is it doesn't get in your way, you know? It lets you do the stuff. Whoops. You know what we could do? There could be this text that says hover over items to get more information about them, to let it be more easily discoverable that there are hover pop-ups there. Not to switch wheels from sort of a semi-strange rant back to the previous topic or anything, but it would be really nice if we could get more help for a thing in here without taking up like 30 lines of this thing or having a bunch of stuff and having it automatically fold when it opens or something. If there was just a thing that said, you know, report generated here, hover on items to get more information about what they are and what they mean. That could be like make it more immediately discoverable. If you already know what it is, it doesn't matter, but if you want it, you can get it. So that's a point to ponder too. But I should also point out that as a back-end developer, this sort of thing is not necessarily in my wheelhouse. We could do that too, yeah. We could make anything that's, let's say you could make anything that you hover over that would provide a hover pop-up underline when you hover over it, but then the hover pop-up would appear, so that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But like, it's not really called out in HyperHelp that you can hover over links and it tells you where they go. It also doesn't necessarily matter. You just double click them to follow them. You know, mostly the idea of this is it's related to safety. I wanted to be able to, for you to see this link because you can't see where it's actually going. It tells you this links to this exact thing, this file, this topic, so that you know where it is that you're going. Let's take that back again. But there's still some time to work out exactly how that works. Yeah. That would also be kind of handy too, yeah. Although I have found that sometimes that gets in the way when it turns into a hand, and then it's kind of hard to sometimes to figure where the click is going to happen. I've only ever seen that happen once though. Installed into the in a Sublime package file. Okay. Is not in an immediately. Packages of this type are not displayed in not installed in a user visible location. Showing a small annotation. You mean, what do you mean by annotation? Like the ones that are on the side of the buffer? That might be an interesting thing if you could like hover something over here and have the little thing pop up and tell you what it is. Click for more. That might be an interesting thing to play around with. Named folder in the well, that could have gone better. What did we do wrong here that it don't like it? No reason for it not to like that, right? Except maybe that didn't happen. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm totally open to that sort of stuff. What the main issue at this point is we're constrained only to in this particular change that we're doing here, we're constrained only to things that exist in Sublime Text 3 after build 3197. So nothing from Sublime Text 4 can be used in here until we finish this change. And then we could totally come back and say, you know what? Or maybe we shelf some of these things and just put out the other change that we came up with as the last thing so that we can immediately start playing around with those sorts of things. Also a valid situation too. That's why we're doing this in a branch so that we can easily toss stuff out if we want to. That's what we're trying to do. But for selfish reasons, I want to have at least one more release that supports Sublime Text 3, and in that release, we're gonna swap these. We're gonna make another one of these tags for Legacy 2-V or Legacy 3 or something along those lines. That has a build of greater than or equal to, or sorry, Sublime Text 3197 to 3199. Or something like that. And then the next one will be 4150 and up. Or whatever the first public release was. Or something. And then everything we do will be pure Sublime Text 4. Because I want to do that. There's a lot of stuff that I want to enhance in here. Like using kind information in the command, in the list of packages and the like, and for browsing things, but I don't want to get into that whack game where you try to keep the code working for both. And I kind of want to make another release that I can tag with that version rather than just add a new tag in there and jump directly. Which, doesn't really need to happen. But if there's a little something that we can throw in there so that we can say, this is the last version that's going to work for this, all to the good, I say. That's very much a me thing that may or may not make any actual logical sense. Kind of like how that is the reason why this doesn't work. There's no error in here that says why. It can't parse that. It just stops. Uh-oh. What do we break now? Oh, it's just fine. Never mind. I think we need to apply more color to those. Now, this isn't actually the final form of that either, because this isn't necessarily. Maybe we don't want those either. S marks, no. Packages that ship with Sublime itself. Marks user installed packages. Something like that. I haven't actually, by the way, started Sublime Text 3 in probably 3 or 4 months. I'm rather impressed with how frequently people are asking questions and they're actually using Sublime Text 4, or they're using Sublime Text 3, or 4. They're using 4, but they think they're using 3 because they didn't notice that the build number changed and the 3 went away. The number of people actually using Sublime Text 3 seems pretty low as far as people asking questions are concerned. That help is kind of a piggyback on other things we would like to add. Could probably add the same thing in there multiple times realistically. I think we want something like that. We can go into more detail for each of these things. And then we got shipped. Oh, that did not link the way we wanted it to. Hang on. All right. Dang it. Yeah, that's not going to do what we want. I don't know what I was thinking. Oh, and we should probably call it here. But let's see if I can at least get that part going, and then we'll jump out into the next bit of action. All right, so let's see. That's going to be the shipped. That's going to be installed. And that is going to be one of those. And then we just fix that up a little bit too. And write a little bit of stub help here just to get us going. This specifier is Sublime Text itself and is available for every user of Sublime. Packages of this type provide the core experience to Sublime. Much of the core functionality of Sublime Text. Boy, this is hard to do when you're not are stored in a special location outside of the normal user configuration area. Don't be alarmed if you can't find them. Something like so. Shipped packages are stored in a special location outside of the normal user configuration area. Don't be alarmed if you can't find them anywhere in your configuration area. It might be all I really care about for the time being. You should never directly modify a shipped package. Rather, in the world of the ironic, the main reason that I started coming up with hyperhelp in the first place is to be able to provide hyperlinkable help for things. So actually there would just be something at the top of the thing that says press question mark for help that would take you directly to a hyperhelp help topic for the thing. So that's kind of ironic that we haven't actually gotten to that point yet. Oh, so far so good. How did the meeting go? I assume your meetings are much more fun and exciting than mine are. Various people were asking questions about the deep internals of Sublime Text and or Pine phones, but we managed to set them straight. What toolkit is used to provide Sublime? The Magic Toolkit. No, it wasn't Toolkit, was it? It was Tech Stack. This is a package that was installed. Normally, I don't like that. Okay, and then we go like that. I think while you were gone, you missed many potential side requests for features in Sublime, like having a hover type that will let you hover over, let you know if you're hovering over a region was one thing that Ashwin mentioned. What was some of the other ones? I can't remember now. Shoot. Just have to watch the whole VOD over again. Oh, the thing that I find kind of disturbing is how if there's something broken in the mini HTML, it doesn't tend to log a message. It just stops parsing. Unless there's only certain errors or I don't know what I'm doing, which is always a possibility. Go something like that. We might need another one of those. You know what? Let's do let's do that. You should never directly modify. That's a very imaginative name, by the way. Do you still use Skia for compositing? Well, not compositing, but assembling stuff? My recollection is yes, but only when you're not using hardware acceleration, but my memory is being off lately. I'm kind of thrown off by how meetings at work are actually fun, and I don't know how to handle it for this brief period of time. Well, it's going to go away fairly quickly, but, you know, take what we can get, right? We don't actually need that one. Just for CPU rendering? Yeah, I think that's my recollection. Yeah. I may or may not have actually described it properly, mind you. I know, neat, right? Ashram, what was the other... One of the things you mentioned as it would be nice for Sublime to have is the idea to hover over a region, but there was one other one, and I can't remember what it was. Do you remember what it was that you said? Because now it's going to bug me. And then we could say something like, add a little bit of help here. When the package appears both... if I'm spelling that correctly. It was something that was related to something that we were doing here. Oh, I remember what it was. The ability to change the cursor, the mouse cursor, when it's hovered over areas to make it more obvious that something will happen that might be different than you expect when you click there, like turning it into a hand or something, if it's going to be a link. I think that was it. And then we also had a semi-discussion about why it's not that great an idea to just take every package in the universe and cram them all into the default installation so that people don't have to install packages if they don't want to. But that was an unrelated thing. Okay, so now we have. This is a package that ships with Sublime Text itself and is available for every user of Sublime. I probably should change that a little bit. Packages of this type provide much of the core functionality of Sublime Text. Does Sublime Text appear enough times in that sentence? Sublime Text, Sublime Text, Sublime Text. Corba, Corba, Corba. As we like to say at work. Packages of this type provide much of the core functionality of the application that you get out of the box. Shipped packages are stored in a special location outside of the normal user configuration area. Don't be alarmed if you can't find them anywhere in your config. Oh, boy. From the Department of Redundancies department. As a fun fact, too much margin? What are you talking about? That's the right amount of margin. That's the best margin anyone's ever margined on anything. There's sub padding in there because of the way that it's meant to be used. We're currently piggybacking over on something else. The help text that's available in these things is meant to be used in other contexts, so more CSS is going to have to happen to make life a little bit better for us, but it's getting it kind of going in the short term. This is not the last time we will revisit this operation. Speaking as a person that is in the finance industry, all the margin is the best margin. Then you can really go to town. Just be careful of margin calls. Normally this would be done by package and show, but you can also install packages here manually as well. You should never direct. Okay, well, see, never should probably be some sort of. Oops. This is also one of those situations where I could probably have a dependency on MD pop-ups to make these as markdown instead of HTML, but I kind of like how there's no dependencies at all on this thing. You know what? I was kind of expecting that to do more. I'm not going to lie. I guess I should probably have done that. Does that not do what I think it does? Oh, I was doing that here. I did it here, didn't I? Oh, look at that. And I didn't close it correctly either. Ha 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 ha. I hate HTML sometimes. Hey, look, it totally liked it that time. Last time it got all cranky about how there was 2 open code tags and it stopped displaying stuff. I've never been a fan of dependencies in the package control sense, but it's entirely related to how I want to be under full control of what version of something is installed, because it's the version that I tested with. I don't want to be in a situation where the person that's creating a dependency that I included bumps the version number and adds new functionality that breaks stuff, and suddenly my package is out in the wild with an incorrect base version, because that just leads to support nightmares. All right, I'm liking that. We'll just do that, and then this will be the new macro. Boom. Now we're gonna have to reflow this. You know how we do. See, the whole point of that being that way, and I don't think we have any actual things that can do it right now, is if there's something that's a complete override, you can click the little button to see. There's one overridden package, there's one unpacked resource not present. Those could have little help links now that we actually have that. But that is, right, like that. Install the Sublime package file inside the install packages folder. Normally this would be done by package control, but you can also install packages here manually as well. You should never directly modify a package installed in this manner. On a future upgrade, your changes will be discarded. Well, let's change that to if you want or need to modify this behavior of this package, yeah, and then yeah, that's not too shabby. Well, we're getting close here, but the last little bit, because that part's working. Nope. Well, I mean, that'll be fine, but So we have that saying shorthand for letting you know the different states in which this package might exist. The package is always at least one of these types, but it could be two or even all three of them. Okay. Short little version to remind you, and then we need to do that one and that one, and then we're kind of done. Ish. Clearly. Oh, I didn't put the stubs in there, did I? Fudge. Okay, we'll go like so. Night, Ashwin. Thanks for stopping by. We're probably got another 10-15 minutes in us here, and then we're gonna pack it in for the night. I can check to see if Jira has miraculously started working again, and we'll go from there. And expired override is an override. Man, how do you even describe this? An expired override is an override in which the file being overridden is newer than the file that's doing the overriding. An override is considered to be expired if the underlying package that contains that's not spelled correctly, is it? I didn't think so. An override is considered to be expired if the underlying package that's being overridden is updated. Has been an override is considered to be expired if the underlying package that contains it Now, it might need to be changed. And we could say, let me say, while expired, your override may be something like that, let's say. An override is considered to be expired if the underlying package that contains it has been updated recently. This could mean that the override is now out of date based on other changes. It might need to be changed. Or it might not be needed any longer. You can use the diff report to determine if you need to make any changes. That could be a link. While expired, your override might be blocking new bug fixes and features. Not really happy with the wording, but good enough for now. Kind of like that Weird Al song. Lastly, how do we say that? Well, that exists inside of the unpacked version of the package in the might be old overrides that are no longer needed. Up a change. I think that's probably good enough for now. We're going to tweak these up just a little bit more. But one of the things I do get a lot is questions about how what those things actually are supposed to be. So from that perspective, any sort of help is handy in here. As you said, we could have just some text that says hover over things to get more information on them, which would be a nice way to let people know that this is actually happening. I kind of like the idea that Ashwin did, where when you hover over something like this, text might appear over here that says expired override or unknown override, click here for more. And then it could actually maybe even open like an HTML frame or actual help or something. So there's a lot that we can actually do with that. But for our purposes here, let's say what we did for, we should probably add, say, pop-ups that provide more information on items that good enough until we know for sure, but there's the HTML. Side note, I kind of like to play with I wonder if there's a way to get HTML highlighting in there. That would be kind of cool. We want that hunk. We have a new link type for info, which works just like help, but it doesn't have a package name that comes with it, which maybe we might actually want, because some of those links could actually link to other places, and we might want to know that sort of thing. And we modified our event a little bit. So let's say include the ability to provide hover pop-ups that provide and it as a first draft for expired and unknown overrides. Boom. One of the other things that we're going to want to work on when we get into this sort of thing is being able to use the new plugin host as well. But for that, we're going to have to add a package file in there, and we're going to want to make sure that we don't do anything a little bit untoward there. So I'm probably it's going to take more work to make sure that everything still works the way that we want it to. In any case, that is going to do it for tonight's stream. Thank everybody for hanging out and watching. Thank you again, Dev, for the kind donation. Much appreciated. We will be back next Monday, as far as I'm aware. I don't think we have anything planned then. In fact, I might even be on vacation next Monday. Might even have like a little bit of a longer stream. Hard to say. I will, of course, also be on Twitch on Wednesday and Friday. Links to that should be down in the description below. The VOD for this, if you only caught part of it and you'd like to go back and see what else happened, will be in a playlist on the channel entitled Sublime Text Live. Should be added there automatically. The VOD will be there, including chat playback, but it does mark itself as unlisted. For now, good morning, Akash. Welcome. We're just getting ready to jump on out of here, so I can do a little bit of work-related stuff before I get to bed. Nice to see you, though. If you have any questions about Sublime, you can, of course, drop those down in the comments section on any video. You can join my Discord, which should be available in a link down in the description below. You can message me on Twitter. You can also ask questions on Sublime Text Forum and Sublime Text Discord, where other people will help you, and perhaps I may also be the one to help you as well. And if you pop in on my Twitch streams, even though we're not necessarily working on Sublime Text, we're working in Sublime Text. If you have any questions whatsoever about Sublime, we're always welcome to ask them there as well. Plus, you can just hang out. It's a cool, chill vibe. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up this evening. And until the next live stream on Monday, I would like you all to please have a sublime week. Good night, everybody.